The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to The John Lebang Show.
Oh boy, do I hate this week's news cycle, because it's the same old BS, recycled, just adding the new details of the old recycled information. And somebody told you a week ago, a few episodes anyways, that it wasn't going to end. And here we go, not going to end. We got Biden. He's lashing out at Trump because Trump, through all this, has exposed something that the malpractice media happened to ignore. And it's brilliant how he's done this, because not only did this stuff come out on him, he turned it around. He released the transcripts, and then he went ahead and started talking about the Biden thing and what's going on there. And the whole Ukrainian deal looks like it's loaded with corruption. Now that we're seeing some of the cracks in the story. And like I said, I think Trump's strategy was brilliant. He released the transcripts immediately. And now, in every interview or every question period that I love how he does that, by the way. When he leaves the White House to go to the helicopter there, he's got all the reporters standing outside, so you got the helicopter going, and it's real loud, and it's probably really annoying for them. And then he just hits talking points. And now he's forced the malpractice media to talk about these talking points because they've been brought up with this whole collusion thing, this whole impeachment process. And there is a Ukrainian and Biden connection. And the malpractice media, through brilliant strategy, is now having to talk about it. And the Biden-Ukrainian connection is also the Obama-Clinton connection. You see, it's all tied in there. And what we know about the Obama administration and the Clinton tenure at the State Department, they had a modus operandi, and that was to topple governments and then swoop in with aid after the fact. They get rid of the people they didn't want. They put in somebody they did. Then they come in with money and aid and banks and all kinds of other things. And I'd like to just bring something up to you, my friends, because this has crossed my mind, and I don't know, because I don't have the time to listen to every commentator out there, but I don't know if this has been discussed. Maybe Russia annexing Crimea was part of the latitude he had after the 2012 elections. Do you remember that little quote that was caught off camera? They didn't know the mic was still on.
This is my last election, basically. Yeah. And after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah. I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand.
Talking there, and Obama said, hey, just hang on. I'll have more latitude after the elections. And that was the 2012 elections. Let's look at a timeline here. Obama gets reelected in 2012. Then in 2014, Russia invades Crimea. Soon after, the Ukrainian government falls apart. The U.S. sweeps in with some aid. Then advisors show up. People investigating the corruption going on are fired. Hunter Biden makes a whole lot of money. An oligarch is allowed to travel to the United States who previously wasn't granted that privilege. He just happens to own the bank that received the U.S. aid to the Ukraine to the tune of 1.5 plus billion. I've heard even higher. I'd like to find out where that money is, because everybody who has investigated this doesn't seem to know where the money is. Now, it appears that the Ukraine in all this is the country that was used to launder not only money, but information, with the Steele dossier and all the meddling in the U.S. election garbage, the Russian and all this. There's the Ukraine. And the Democrats are really freaking out. Listen, they haven't gotten this crazy over any of the stuff, the Russian collusion. They're really nuts over this one. They looked a little panicked to me. And up until recently, we didn't hear any of this out of the malpractice media. But Trump has got them talking about it because he's talking about it and they're covering him. But if you notice, because I've noticed, they're trying to spin it themselves. No evidence, this and that, blah, 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 blah. But I think that's coming. I think it might be coming. Recent news has come out of the Ukraine that they've convicted a couple of people of meddling in an election. I don't know if you've heard about that, but you'll never guess in a million years whose election they were meddling in. That's right. If you guessed the United States, you would be correct. You win some kind of prize. I don't know what kind of prize. I don't have one to give you. But you know what? You win something for being the smart person in the room prize. Now, Glenn Beck has done some incredible work on this particular subject. And it's been going back for about 6 months, actually. He's starting to have a little resurgence. Although he looks like he's having a little hard time breathing. Glenn, you might want to lose a little weight, bro. I'm not the skinniest fella, but maybe you want to lose a little weight because it sounds like you're having a hard time breathing when you're doing this good reporting that you're doing. And again, I have to ask, why is Glenn Beck leading the information charge there? He was never a Trump guy either, by the way. There's a lot of those never Trumpers that have come around a little bit on him because they see that if they don't side with Trump, they could be the next one taken out by this monster behemoth that is taking out or attempting to take out everybody they oppose or who oppose them, up and including the President of the United States. But Glenn Beck is doing the reporting, not the malpractice media. They're busy on the other side of the aisle, pointing out little things like what he might have said. And it's funny how the reporting has changed a little bit now that the transcripts have came out, and we've seen that it wasn't really him pressuring anybody into doing anything. He was more like saying, hey, bud, you might want to check this out. Because if you're trying to get to the heart of corruption, which apparently they are, because they have convicted some people in meddling in the U.S. election. You didn't hear about that. The malpractice media didn't tell you that that was happening. I wonder why they didn't feel it was necessary to pass on that information to you, the American people. These people just happen to be close associates with, you'll never guess. You'll never guess in a million years. Yeah, well, the Bidens, of course, because they had a direct line to because the guy who's being busted on corruption was supposed to be in charge of cleaning up the corruption. But they got ties to the Bidens. I mean, they had to call. Hey, Mr. President, please, we've got to tell you there's corruption here, or we'd like to do some corruption. Could you please help us out with some money? And that way we can corrupt the whole country. That's what we'd like to do. Thank you very much. Mr. Vice President, please tell Barry I said hello. And you want to know why there's so much impeachment talk right now. It's because he's getting close. This little country seemed to be so vulnerable. And it was used to affect the outcome of the election and to possibly keep Russia happy. Because they allowed them to take Crimea for their troubles. So it was a trade-off there. Two major superpowers got together and said, "We like this crime. Barry, we like this little country out here. We'd like to split it up. Vlad, would you like to do that?" I do it very bad, Barry, but you get the point. Vlad was like, "Yes, let's do this. Give me Crimea, and we all good." I mean, that is just a banger theory. But wow, doesn't it seem plausible that this is what was happening there? To make sure that Russia didn't get mad about us influencing the Ukraine. Because we had gone into Iraq and took that for ourselves, went to Afghanistan. We handled all that. But Ukraine was going to be a little harder because Russia liked parts of that country. So Barry and him, after the 2012 elections, probably had a few phone calls. My opinion, right? I'm you know what I'm doing? Many of you would think this is conspiracy talk, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm theory crafting here. So please, enjoy some of the theory craft with me. Barry called him up and said, "Okay, I'm reelected. Go ahead and do what you got to do to annex Crimea." Or Crimea, or however you pronounce it, because, people are going to get upset about how it's pronounced. And Vlad was like, "Okay, we take a little bit. We got a year to prepare, and then we go in March. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, Barry. Good talking to you." Now, because we're still in the dark about a lot of dealings, we just have to, the banger's just going to assume that's what happened. But you can tell the swamp's extremely nervous. If they weren't nervous, they wouldn't be in a panic over this, and they wouldn't be so boisterous at this moment. And rightfully so. They should be nervous, because it appears to be something very dirty was going on with the Obama administration, with the Bidens, with Ukraine, and possibly even the Russians. The Russians. See, they blame the Russians for everything. So if it ever comes out that they're safe, but it's like that redirect we were talking about a few weeks ago. They're projecting their dirty deeds on other people, on other countries. They meddled in the election. They used foreign countries to do so. They worked with the Russians. They're corrupted, immoral, bigoted, fascistic, obtuse, criminal. They're racists. And they project all that on everybody else. That's to keep the dirt that's on them from showing. See, they got so much dirt on them, they just kind of go, "Here, see, Trump's dirty, this guy's dirty, that guy's dirty, dirty. Yet they haven't bathed in years. We've got to take a quick time out, folks. More in store for you. This beginning of the week episode of The John Lebang Show. Hey, Uncle Shady, where are they going? Hey, you, get back here. The John Lebang Show will be right back. Does your house need a paint job, but you don't want to do it? Then call Tom at Quality One Painting. He can handle all of your interior and exterior painting needs. He gives free estimates and senior discounts. Call Tom at Quality One. 313-982-2986. That's 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting.
The John Lebang Show presents PokerFace, Chapter 1, Shady Superfly Poker Party.
Get out of the way, dog. Now, where the hell's my shoe? Scooby, do you see my shoe? That's what they all say. I better not find out you went and buried it. I bought those at Uncle Jimmy's Payless for Shoes before they went out of business. I think it was for selling cheap footwear or something. You know, I always like going on Friday night and get their police light special. Oh, that shoes they sold at some chump at full price. Repossessed them, some people would call them stealing them back, and then selling them out the back door for half price. At least the food's looking good around here. Slow your roll. This is human food. You can't have any. Don't give me them sad eyes. You don't see me trying to eat your kibble now, do you? Now go lay down or something. And don't let me catch you licking yourself. Remember what I said. You'll go blind. Leroy, hurry up with them chips. I want to taste the dip. I'm coming, Uncle Shady. I should have been a rapper.
Where would you like the punch?
Over there. Wait, hold on, hang on. Let me taste that.
This is for the guests.
I know it's for the guests. That's why I want to taste it. I'd hate to have someone keel over because you poisoned them with jungle juice.
What do you think?
I don't know. Tastes a little like wet socks. What'd you put in it?
Oh, sorry. I was out of spoons, so I started with your shoe. Hope you didn't mind. Here you go.
Oh, okay. Thanks, I think. You know, I'll save this for later. Hello, is everybody here? No, we're still waiting on a couple of people. Oh, here's the chips, Uncle Shady. Oh, I love chips. These are chips? Uh-huh. Where the hell did you buy these? At the grocery store in the health food aisle. Let me see. Gluteus free. I know a couple chicks like that. That's gluten, Uncle Shady. What is that? I don't know. Me neither. The real question is, does anybody know? What's in here? Let's see. No trans fats. Well, that's good. I'm not into them trannies. Just try one. I don't know, Leroy. See if the dog like it. Hey, Pooch, you want one of these? See, Leroy? Even the dog doesn't want it. Well, nothing yet. Well, he better be back soon, because he's the only one working now that Ali Dumbo's on the wanted list. Big dummy.
Let me scratch your belly.
Well, we got a big supply. You know what to tide us over.
Does that feel good? Yes.
Speaking of that, where's the hillbilly? Oh, I haven't seen him. Might have to talk about that guy. Oh, somebody's at the door. Well, don't just stand there. Go let him in. Okay. Hello? There's some crazy clown over at the party store. A clown? That's right, man. He exempt his whatever he was wearing. I don't know too much about them weird clothing from other countries. To each his own is what I say. Well, after he exempted, man, he whipped out this little hose-looking thing. Must have only been 2 or 3 inches. But man, it could squirt. He started chasing all the women around yelling, "Phaser on stun, Mr. Sulu." Now, I don't know who Mr. Sulu is, but I can tell you at least 5 women were stunned before them bouncers over at that land strippers beat the hell out of them. You want to come in? Hell yeah, I want to come in here, man. That's what I'm here for. I'll get it. Hello, Shady Superfly Poker Night Party. You're talking to Shady.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing until you get here.
Well, that's a problem. I have to do some crime fighting, so I'm not going to be able to make it.
Listen, Bat Freak, we made a dip and everything. Leroy even made sure there were no fat trannies coming.
Sorry, but duty calls. Aquaman is hanging out with Catwoman, and they might need my assistance.
Whatever. Goodbye. Looks like we're going to be one show. That only makes 5, Uncle Shady. Well, do you know anybody else?
Oh, we can always invite John.
What? But he's gone. All right, geek. I think you've had enough of that jungle juice.
Oh, I haven't had any yet.
Who's this Joan fella? That's not important right now. Well, geek, let's hear this BS.
I've been been working on a holograph replica of John, just in case we don't get him back. It's fully functional and ready to deploy. iDork, initiate Banger Holo program.
Acknowledged. Activating hologram emitters.
Oh, look at that.
It looks so real.
2 questions, geek.
What's that?
Does he have real money?
Sure, we can take it from his bank account. What's the second question?
Why is he naked?
Oh, sorry. iDork, overlay clothing. Make it a pink dress just for laughs.
All right, let me go to the bathroom and then we can get started. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's better than an eye-reader convention.
You know, I don't know about you, but myself, I am so tired of going to these damn websites because we're gonna stop talking about that for a little bit and talk about some other things because there's plenty to talk about. We don't need to keep talking about the stuff that is, recycled news. But you go to these websites and the first thing they do, you read a couple lines, they go privacy this and privacy that. We need to use cookies, and I like how it's their privacy statement when they're really trying to figure out who you are, and steal your information. The masters of the world like to play words to make it sound good, even though it isn't what it seems to be. The Affordable Care Act, that was never affordable. Social Security that doesn't provide any social or security. So when they play these games, they tell you the privacy. What they're really saying is we want to find out as much information about you as possible. So there you go. And the reason I get on that because I wanted to talk about other subjects this hour instead of the same old, same old. So I heard about this news story where there's a lot of young teens who are trying to return to their original sex. You see, they became trans because they were confused. Mommy and daddy didn't set them straight. Maybe there's no daddy there. Maybe mommy's whacked out. Who knows exactly why these kids were so confused on gender that they wanted to change it, and now they realize that, I liked being a boy. I liked having a schmeckle. Now I got it removed. What am I going to do? I'm going to be a eunuch my whole life. And people think letting the young people make choices that could affect their entire lives at such a young age is ridiculous. It's almost child abuse, in my opinion. You don't know squat until you're 30. On top of that, sure, you're an adult by 18 if you can go to war. You're an adult. Sure. But don't tell me you have it all figured out, and if you're a little confused because the establishment has confused you or your child, don't think they can make life choices that'll be beneficial to them, especially some as whacked out as changing their gender. We talk about accepting people for who they are. People need to accept themselves for who they are. First of all, if you're born as a boy, you're a boy. You're a man then. Live with it. Ladies, you're a lady, you're a girl. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being a boy or a girl. If you're born by the luck of the draw a male, then you're born a male. If the luck of the draw makes you a female, deal with it. It's okay. We're not talking about sexual preferences and all that, because now they've confused sexual preferences with people who are so confused about their identity that they attempt to change their gender. But we have hundreds of young people who now want to return to their original gender. And I say, why the heck did we confuse them in the first place? It is not cool, no matter what people say. I don't care. You can send the hate mail. That's fine. It's not cool. We should be teaching in that realm the truth. There's boy, man, girl, female. That's it. One freak of nature out of there called a hermaphrodite. There's nothing wrong with being a hermaphrodite if that's what you were born as. But if we're going to push this, accept me for who I am, then you need to accept who you were in the first place. Not up here, but who you're born as, okay? We don't get to choose that. That's the one thing we don't get to choose, no matter how medically available it is to change what you want to be. You just let man do the work of, whatever. That's cosmetic. It's like the tattoo thing, right? Get women who wear the tattoos all over the body, and you're supposed to be okay with that as a single guy. I'm so glad I'm not out there chasing women. I mean, as a single guy in the dating world, how do you guys do it out there? All these women are tattooed up, and it's just me. And ladies, I'm not trying to offend any of you. I'm just saying tattoos don't do anything for me on a lady. I mean, I'm not a fan of them in general because I know the history of them and what that means. It means being owned. That's what it means. That's the historical basis for that. You are part of something. You are in an organized whatever, or you're just owned. But that's okay. You can do what you want. I don't really care. But I wonder how the guys these days cope with that. The ones that are out there looking at the world and trying to date girls, and this girl's got, tattoos. How can you want to a woman who, ladies, please, I'm begging with you, for the poor men out there, how do you expect a man to be attracted to you if you have the face of your kid on your chest, when he's trying, especially since today nobody sticks with one person for the rest of their life? That's just a reminder of the past, dude. And who wants to look at your kid when you're having a little fun? I'm just saying. Back in the day, parents would get mad when kids drew all over themselves. Now, ladies, you got writing all over you. Am I criticizing you? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I would do it if I was out there searching for someone. I feel bad for the guys. And then what do? You have babies with the worst of the men. So all the good guys have to watch that. And then you finally come around to the good guys after you've had a few children. I don't understand all that. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Oh, well. Who would have thought? Who would have thought I would have become old-fashioned? Because I was never one to follow the norm, do what everybody else did. The farthest I went, there was an earring, and I got rid of that soon, right away. I did that because I was in a band, and I was like, I don't want to wear an earring. That's stupid. I was in one of those glam bands with the fancy hair, and I hated that. I never went back to that ever again. There was never a makeup job ever again. See, rock and rollers get to be a little weird, but now everybody's a little weird. So you can't tell who's the real weirdos, because we used to be able to tell the weirdos before. Now they're all mixed in. Maybe everybody's weird. Maybe everybody's weird. It's possible. Then we have the Joker movie that's out, making a big hub. Everybody's getting excited over it. Or upset over it. It's too graphic. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. Don't go see the movie if you hear those sort of things and you don't want to find out. You know, people go to these things. It's coming out around Halloween. What did you expect? Especially where cinema has led us to. We're not in a good spot in cinema history. Let's just say that. The visuals are nice. All the graphics are beautiful. But the stories are... And the positive portrayal, and maybe not in this movie because I haven't seen it, But we have a lot of anti-heroes now making the scene. They've moved out the heroes. They've even weakened, like Marvel's killed off some of their best heroes, or have done some very strange choices, like with Thor and the Hulk with their heroes. They've made them almost into jokes, and they've really turned their focus on the anti-hero, or in the Joker's case, the villain. But look at how great Thanos was. He was portrayed as a villain, but he bordered on that anti-hero because you could understand, if not fully agree with his thought process. We had what was that movie with the Joker chick? What was it? The Sinister Six? No, that wasn't it. It was the Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad. All bad guys, or most of them bad guys. They're portraying them in a good light. Deadpool's kind of an anti-hero. Venom. So there's an obsession with, inside Hollywood, I should say, with this anti-hero versus the... Isn't it Fast and Furious kind of that way as well? It's kind of an anti-hero type thing. So I don't know what's up with that. Thought I'd just comment on it. And with the rise of the Joker, which I don't know if I'm going to go see it. There's been reviews on both sides of the good and bad there. A lot of people are weirded out by it, but it's a Halloween movie. It was probably going to be trying to be scary, or if not gory, because these days it's easier to be gory for these studio companies than actually to be scary, because being scary means you can't have things going pow, 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 pow. You have to build tension with scary, and today's audience doesn't have the attention span to build tension, or at least they don't believe so, and it's hard to disagree with that, being a radio guy and seeing the numbers of how long people stay on a show, and you can get all those analytics there. So you get a good viewpoint, perspective on what works, what doesn't work. You get an idea of how long people are interested and not interested, how long their attention spans are. I tell you, the average person's not too long. So that's why they're pew, 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 like the Star Wars movies. Everything's Star Wars to the extreme these days. Pew, 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 pew. Transformers. Pew, 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 pew. Just got to do it that way, fast as possible. Keep those visions flashing, so nobody has to think too long. Start to think, some people get bored because they don't know how to think. They were never taught to think. So if they weren't taught to think, and they were only taught to believe and ingest and have that open mind so all that garbage can flow in there, then that's all they're going to ever be. So when the movie industry realized that, they said, hey, we don't need to have great actors anymore with long, drawn-out monologues that'll go down in history. No, we just need flashy lights, fast movement, running, bam, blast, boom, boom, explosions, cars chasing. That will keep their attention. And we can do that for 2.5 hours so they can have more popcorn and more pop. Really make the industry money, blowing records off the door of prior movies. Just because, well, they can bring everybody in. We'll be right back, folks. Second half of this hour coming your way.
Don't move a muscle. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes!
Are you in need of commercial or residential window cleaning? Do you need your office cleaned? Maybe custodial work? How about some gutter cleaning? If you do, then call Pane in the Glass for a beautiful shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane and the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
Well, folks, the list of the most miserable cities in the country has just been released, and I'd like to talk about it because we have a few hometown ones there, but there's some enlightening information for you all if you pay attention. First, we'll talk about who made number one, and that was Gary, Indiana. Now, I don't know if you've traveled by Gary, Indiana, through Gary, Indiana, anywhere near Gary, Indiana, but it stinks. And I mean literally. It smells like the toilet after Shady leaves. So I can see why it'd be miserable there, because it always stinks. Every time you drive through that city, it stinks. So living there, smelling that all the time, I could say that would be pretty miserable. Port Arthur, Texas, which I've never been there, comes up as the number 2. Notice these are not the biggest cities in the country. But Port Arthur, Texas is number 2. Then, of course, our beloved Detroit, Michigan. That city that is supposedly on the rise, still in the top 3. They like to talk about how that city is growing and there's a little patch of good stuff in the middle there. There is, but then there's a big giant circle of junk all around. And it's all misery. And it would take 100 years to clean that up and to refreshen it. And I don't think people are going to want to wait that long. They're going to start realizing that what is growing is just the inner part of Detroit. They're making that look pretty. But then the surrounding areas are never going to be cleaned up, nor will their misery index get better, because it is nearly impossible to clean up all that stuff because you've had 50, 60, 70, who knows how many years of allowing that area to just decay. Of course, we have a couple other home cities that I'd like to discuss because it's amazing that they're in the top 10, because I thought they'd be in the top 5 for sure. And that's Flint, Michigan, with their great water system and all. They're number 7 most miserable city in the country. I've been there a few times, and I can tell you it's run down, it's old. You've had the same kinds of politicians running that city for decades and decades and decades, and nothing's ever going to get better. They're going to blame one guy up in Lansing, but they're not going to take the blame upon themselves for electing the criminals that they allowed to get away with the demise of that city. Just up the highway a little bit on I-75, you've got ranked at number 31, Saginaw. Oh, we got 3 in the top 50. That's awesome. That's awesome. But you know what? We aren't the leaders, at least. Michigan has 3 of the top 50, but you really want to get into it? There's some incredible information on this. Business Insider, who recently put this list out of the 50 most miserable cities in America, well, the 3 states with the most cities in that top 50, Florida has 6 cities. That great state of Florida, always a swing state for the election, that has 6 of the most miserable cities in the country. But not to be outdone, New Jersey has 9. Little old New Jersey has 9 of the most miserable cities in the country. And when you think how big New Jersey is, you realize that's pretty much the whole state. So they're probably the most miserable state in the country. But Those two have nothing on this final state. Although it may be the largest state in the union, it has a whopping 10 of the most miserable cities in the country. And that's California. The Golden State. Yes, the state of Hollywood and San Francisco, which didn't make the top 50 list, but when you can defecate on the sidewalk in front of a restaurant, I would say that's a pretty miserable city in its own. But they have 10, the great state of California. Now, I know that's one of the larger states, and when you contrast that with New Jersey, who has 9, you realize New Jersey's in really bad shape. I don't know what they're going to do in that state. And, that a lot of those people out there tend to elect the same types of people. Yet you're miserable. Think they'd want to change the people that are controlling the purse strings in the state. California will never do that, no matter how miserable they've become. How many bum camps, or I don't know what they call it, homeless shelter camps that pop up here and there throughout the state? It doesn't matter about that. They don't even talk about it in the Democrat Party when they run out for campaigning for the presidency. They don't talk about their state of California very often, especially the largest homeless camps in the country are based there, and yet we don't hear about that. We don't hear about that 10 of the most miserable cities in the country are in California, the state that wants everybody to vote the popular vote so they can have control of everything. Yeah. I mean, my state's at least a little better, though 3 of the top 50 is not a good thing either. And it's like I've said before. You had chances to fix it, and what you do, you've elected the people, the same kinds of people that put you in the mess in the first place. So you got to blame the people when it comes to electing people in the government, because guess what, folks? You put them there, and then you didn't keep their feet to the fire. That's what I told people a few years back when Trump got elected. You had to keep his feet to the fire, and they didn't do that, and those first 2 years were wasted. Now, nothing will get done with the Democrat House of Representatives only focusing on impeachment. They don't want to get it. They're going to get nothing done, folks. Do you realize that all they will ever do is, until this impeachment thing is resolved somehow, all they're ever going to talk about is impeachment, and there's going to be nothing else done, nothing to fix these miserable cities, nothing to help the country at the border, nothing to fix our problems abroad, nothing. Our legislative body is too busy impeaching a president over whatever they could find, whatever they could conjure up, whatever they could collude with other foreign nations to do. And we sit here continually putting those same people in power. Now, I'm not telling you the Republicans are a better party than the Democrats. They're less dangerous, but they still have their own agendas. But you can't keep voting in the Democrat Party because they are the party of corruption. And hopefully we're about to see all of that exposed. But you don't want to build your hope up too much, because they've got such a structure in place. It's so convoluted. There's people in every parts of the government in there to protect the swamp. Every little crevice, every little corner, every closet, there's somebody there to protect the swamp from collapsing. So this endeavor that the president has undertaken and that the people elected him to do, if he is who he says he is, this endeavor is so large, so massive, that every little turn provides another wall. That's right, another wall. They don't want a wall on the border, but they provide walls at every instance to stop the exposure of the corruption of the United States government, which unfortunately would benefit our enemies. I don't know where I got the enemies from, but that's okay. Unfortunately, exposing the corruption inside the government would benefit our enemies. But it needs to be done. It needs to be rooted out today. And this is a monumental task. And the people who elected Trump need to get off their butts and start calling their congressmen, their senators, start putting the word out about what this corruption that is now being exposed because the president has somehow, once again, brilliantly turned the narrative off of him back onto the Democrats must be so freaking frustrated with this guy because every time they try to pin something on him, instead of him backing down, he turns it right on them. And they don't know how to handle it. And you can see the panic that is going on right now. The sheer panic on the left. They thought he was stupid. Obviously, he's 1, 2, maybe even 3 moves ahead of them. When they think they got a sneak attack on him, he's ready for it. And if he wasn't ready for it, he has contingency plans in place to have it turned back on them. It's amazing to watch as a commentator. It's amazing to see how Trump has navigated this presidency through these murky waters. How every landmine, every mortar attack, every machine gun attack, every dive bomb on him, kamikaze attack, he has somehow been able to withstand it and fire right back at them and do, if not as much damage, maybe even more damage in some cases. The poor listeners of the Democrat side of things are going to be so mad when he's not impeached. So mad. And they break things and they burn things and they aren't reasonable. And if they manage, again, I'm repeating myself, but if they manage to take out Trump, there's going to be a whole lot of disenfranchised people. A whole lot.
Smoke them if you got them.
Because the John LeBang Show will be right back.
After this. That's guaranteed. Yes. At Absolute Skin and Body Care, they only use the best laser equipment in the industry so that you receive the best results possible. They'll explain all the procedures in detail and answer all of your questions. Absolute Skin and Body Care. If you're looking for skin rejuvenation, laser lipo, or laser hair removal, call Absolute Skin and Body Care. They're located at 37625 Ann Arbor Road, Suite 105 in Livonia, Michigan. Absolute Skin and Body Care. Their office phone numbers are 248-305-3000. That's 248-305-3000. Absolute Skin and Body Care. You're listening to The John LeBang Show. It's huge. Now I gotta tweet about it.
For our last little bit of news this hour, I'd like to talk about Ocasio-Cortez, or as she is more popularly known as, AOC. She's pushing a national rent control welfare for illegal immigrants in this latest massive proposal that she has concocted in her mind. Now I want to ask her, because this is all about having a just society, I want to ask her, who's going to pay for this just society, Miss Cortez? Because it's not very just if you're proposing to take money out of my pocket or anybody else's pocket to make that happen. She wants to find ways to steal money from your wallet. Now, here are the ways, because this just society, I had to stutter there. I had to stutter society. Because you know when they use words, it's not what they're, it's not, you know, they're redefining words. So to Miss Cortez, a just society, a just society provides a living wage, safe working conditions, and health care. A just society acknowledges the value of immigrants to our communities. A just guarantees just society. Don't let society guarantees safe, comfortable, and affordable housing. Now, these Just Society proposals are made up of 6 different pieces of legislation that deal with issues including the housing, the welfare, the poverty, and human rights. Maybe she should go work for the United Nations instead of the United States, because the United States is supposed to protect American rights, and the United Nations, or at least that's their charter or something like that, is supposed to protect human rights. I don't know, whatever. But the first one is the Place to Prosper Act. This would prevent year-over-year rent increases of more than 3%. Meanwhile, so the government is telling your landlord how much they can raise the rent, no matter how many repairs they've done, no matter how much damage you have done. Because trust me, I've spoken to many a property owner, and these places are left in wrecks most of the time because renters have no regard for other people's property. They don't even know what property is outside of maybe a vibrator or something. So they don't understand that a person's property should be cared for if you are a renter. Meanwhile, the Embracement Act, or Embrace Act, would allow illegal immigrants to claim the same welfare benefits as U.S. citizens, and those immigrants are here illegally, or the legal immigrants here as well. Notwithstanding any of the other provisions in the law, an individual who is an alien without regard of immigration status, so you can be whoever you want, may not be denied any federal public benefits solely on the basis of an individual's immigration status. Now you wonder why they didn't want the immigration question on the census, don't you? The federal public benefit is defined as any grant, contract, loan, professional license, or commercial license provided by an agency of the United States or by appropriated funds of the United States, and any retirement, welfare, health, disability, public or assisted housing, post-secondary education, food assistance, unemployment benefits, or any other similar benefit for which payments or assistance are provided to an individual, household, or family eligible unit by an agency of the United States or by appropriated funds of the United States. Did you understand that, folks? Everybody gets anything free if you're an illegal immigrant. Queso's such a wonderful person, isn't she? Now, in a similar bill, the Mercy in Re-Entry Act, love that title, the Mercy in Re-Entry Act, uses similar language to stop the granting of public benefits based on whether a person was convicted of a criminal offense. See, she likes criminals, folks. She loves them. Still another bill, the Recognizing Poverty Act, because we don't recognize it enough, would direct the Department of Health and Human Services to update federal poverty level by taking into account geographic cost variations, cost related to health insurance, work expenses for the family, child care needs, the new necessities, and whatever, I don't know what new necessities. This is making me crazy here. Another bill would urge the U.S. to ratify the UN Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. See, she should be working for the United Nations. Now, in our last bit of AOC news, she was at this recent event where she was talking to a bunch of crazies, and one of those supporters had to say this. Take a listen.
We're not going to be here for much long because of the climate crisis. We only have a few months left. I love that you support the Green Deal, but it's not getting rid of fossil fuel. It's not going to solve the problem fast enough. A Swedish professor saying, we can eat dead people, but that's not fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this: we got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time. There's too much CO2. All of you're a pollutant. Too much CO2. We have to start now, please. You are so great. I'm so happy that you're really supporting the Green Deal, but it's not enough. Even if we would bomb Russia, we still have too many people, too much pollution.
Bombing Russia wouldn't cause CO2 levels to
decrease. That's a big problem. Just stopping having babies is not enough. We need to eat the babies, and this is very serious. Please give a response.
Thank you. We'll go ahead.
Okay.
No, we'll go ahead. It's so no. Yeah, no. Thank you. So I think So one of the things that's very important to us is that we need to treat the climate crisis with the urgency that it does present. Luckily, we have more than a few months. We do need to hit net zero in several years. But I think we all need to understand that there are a lot of solutions that we have.
And apparently, AOC isn't against eating babies, because she didn't say anything contrary to what the lady says. She didn't say, no, we can't eat babies. She listened to the lady. They let her talk, and she didn't rebut any of it. She was just like, there's a lot of those things we got to do. It's just going to take time. We're not going to die in 12 days or whatever the whack job. They've got people so wrapped up in everything, nutties running all over, and we, as a country, have allowed our political leaders, our political idiots, to control the narrative there and to say, it's okay to be whatever you wanted to be. It's okay. Do what you want. We're okay that you're mentally handicapped, and we're going to encourage it by saying, cut off your schmeckle if you're a boy and you want to be a girl. If you're confused, feel free to do whatever you want. We don't care. If you cut off your schmeckle, that'll be population control in one form or another. We can't have a serious discussion to discuss the serious issues of this country seriously, because there's not enough people mentally sane anymore that are listened to that can affect the proper changes to make things better. We're worried about nut jobs, thinking climate change is going to kill everybody and we have to kill babies and eat them. We're worried about helping illegal immigrants who break the law coming into this country. We're worried about criminals getting welfare. You see, that nothing serious is going to get done this way, folks. And unless Trump can somehow unravel it all, which I have serious doubts over, it's never gonna change. It's gonna keep going that way to the road of idiocracy, the road of oligarchy. And I guess with that being said, we've got to get on out of here, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I'd like to thank all of our affiliate stations for carrying the John LeBang Show. Don't forget to go to the website, www.jlebang.com, And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, I'm John Lebang, signing off from the Banger Studios.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.